Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to remember the name loud and clear, okay? TJ McConnell, Timothy John McConnell, is the X factor in a playoff series in 2024 for the Indiana Pacers. Another incredible spinoff of the process. I just sat here and watched the Indiana Pacers tie up the series at 2 against the New York Knicks. I'm not going to sit here and say that the Knicks are done by any means. I think it's been a very gritty series, and I do think that, there are a few really good games incoming as the series heads back to New York. But I want to talk about TJ McConnell and relate it to the 76ers, and I think it sends a very important message, which we will get into. We'll talk about a few other things as well. But man, what another great game. Do me a favor, like the show if you enjoy it, and be sure to share around the content. Welcome into Philly Take with RB. And oh, by the way, happy Mother's Day to all the incredible mothers out there. Thank you, and we appreciate all that you do. And speaking of appreciate, I appreciated sitting back, relaxing, watching a game as the Indiana Pacers absolutely blew the brakes off of the New York Knicks. The game, as you can see, is still ongoing. There's a couple minutes left, but this one is in the books. The Pacers were up by 43 at one point. And really, I feel like the momentum of this series is turning because of TJ McConnell. Yeah, that's right. Former process Sixer TJ McConnell. 15 points, 10 assists in this game, 4 rebounds, and 2 steals, all in 21 minutes. He has been doing it all playoffs long. He has been doing it all season long. I guess you could say in some part he had a breakout season, but Sixer fans know who watched this guy back in the day that he's always been this type of gritty, scrappy player. But man, it is nice to see him blossom and get a real shot here. And I never would have thought I'd be saying Shake Milton versus TJ McConnell in a series to go to the conference finals. But anyway, we know that TJ has been a huge part of the Indiana Pacers. And I think it just speaks to a couple different things, okay? And I know there's going to be people out there like, why is he talking about this? Why is he chatting about it? Let me tell you, okay, Sixer fans are allowed to watch the playoffs. Just because the Sixers got bounced doesn't mean they can't watch the NBA and analyze it and critique it or whatever else. I'm having a lot of fun, and I am rooting for TJ McConnell now going forward in this series, but he is just absolutely incredible. Now, here's a tweet I put back up in 2018. I said, I would take TJ McConnell over any other backup point guard any day of the week. Don't at me. Now, obviously, I'm not sitting here saying TJ McConnell is the greatest athlete of all time, or he's, the best statistical backup point guard, or he's such an incredible athlete. What I'm saying is that guys with that element of winning are so important to a franchise. It is beyond words. It is beyond the tangibles. And what I'm seeing TJ McConnell out here doing up against a banged up Brunson is literally make life so hard for him. The energy, right? TJ McConnell on every inbounds, just like he used to do back in Philadelphia, turns, sprints up the floor at full speed, and in some ways scares the point guard. Like he literally runs up, whoever's, taking the ball up the floor, goes right up in their face and is shoving them and is getting there and is trying to poke the ball away. And he's just making winning plays. Obviously, there was that game earlier in the series where TJ should not have been taken out in the fourth quarter. That was a big blunder by Rick Carlisle. But, the guy just competes. He wants to win. And at 32 years old, to see him out here impacting a playoff series, when I remember people back then telling me on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, I could pull up all the receipts. They were saying TJ McConnell was one of the worst players in the NBA. But if you really watch, like those little things make so much of a difference. They're not going to win you a championship all the time, but having guys like this on the roster is just, it's second to none. Here was that play that TJ McConnell made back in 2017 against the Knicks, and I guess he's owned the New York Knicks franchise ever since. That game winner, the infamous TJ McConnell game winner against the New York Knicks, and here he is in 2024, and he is winning or helping win a playoff series against the New York Knicks. It's pretty incredible if you ask me. But he's the same guy. Like everything that this guy does just helps impact winning. And when you look at the 76ers, it's the little plays, it's the little things that he does on the basketball floor, that high energy guy that just gives you a little bit of a boost. That's why when I look at guys like Ricky Council, for example, even though he's young, even though he doesn't have everything down packed yet, even though he's not any type of prolific scorer or shooter, the Sixers need to give this guy more minutes. They need to play him more because he gives 110% every single play up the floor. Or maybe it's a guy like Cameron Payne, who we know is small, undersized, but man, every time he steps on that hardwood, he wants to win. And he showed us that time and time again in the NBA playoffs. But for example, here's TJ McConnell, like just these type of plays that he is making in this series, making life hard for the Knicks, the little swift, sharp movements, getting to where he wants to get. It's crazy what he has developed into, man. I can't say I saw him ever playing this good in a playoff series, but I'm happy for him. This is my favorite play from the game today. As you can see here at the beginning of the play, it may not be too clear, but he's getting screened by Isaiah Hartenstein. And let me ask you this. Do the Sixers have guys like this who are willing to fight around screens, not get beat, get back to their guy, and steal a pass and let it lead to transition offense? Do they have a guard who can do what I just showed you, where TJ McConnell did a little quick crossover and took it to the rack off the bench? Like, these are the types of winners that the Sixers need. TJ McConnell is one of the best backup guards in the league right now. He gets screened by Hartenstein, and he's forced to switch. But look at that. Kept his eyes right on Brunson, locked in, and as soon as he saw that movement where Brunson was getting ready to bounce it to Hartenstein, he takes it away, little quick spin, underhand up the floor, easy dunk. Like, it's just those type of players, man. And again, whether it's Ricky Council or Cameron Payne, I mean, maybe Kyle Lowry could do these types of things, but he's just a little bit too old and he's slowed down, so it's just crazy to see. And, I'm starting to think that the Pacers are taking over this series a bit. If they can get a win in New York, I think everything flips back to Indiana, and I think that they win the series. I really do. And it's just crazy to see how things are playing out. And man, I mean, it is pretty sweet, to be honest. I will be honest. It is very nice to watch. And, it's not so easy when the referees are not one-sided in your favor. But that's all I'll say. Lastly, the NBA draft lottery was announced. A lot of people were reacting to this like, wait, what? The draft lottery was on today? Yeah, on a Mother's Day edition before a playoff game. Nobody was ready. Usually this happens later, like during the conference finals. But it was a wild draft lottery. And the 76ers obviously have the 16th overall pick, but a lot of teams who we thought were going to be at the top are not, right? The Atlanta Hawks, of all teams, a team that was in the play-in tournament, ends up with the number 1 overall pick. They had the second lowest odds to get it and somehow landed it. And the Houston Rockets, who were almost a playoff team, jumped up into the top 4. The Wizards, the Spurs end up getting 2 picks in the top 8. Because the Toronto Raptors pick went to the San Antonio Spurs. And man, it's crazy, man. This was one of the craziest draft lotteries. And now I would honestly think that, the Sixers may even trade back. They're already starting to talk about that. And, we have a lot of coverage to get into. We'll break down draft prospects and things like that. But, should the Sixers go out and draft a guy at number 16, or should they use that pick as leverage in a potential big-time trade, which is almost the route I feel like they're going to go, especially with Daryl Morey, who usually does not like the draft this high. I don't know what's going to happen, but what I do know is that one of these teams may be involved in a big-time trade this summer, whether it's Atlanta with Trae Young and DeJounte Murray moving on from one of them. Maybe it's the Houston Rockets moving on from Jalen Green. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of interesting pre-draft talk and probably some potential mock trades involved as well. And it's just funny, the Detroit Pistons, which I don't want to just hang, on them after a terrible season in which they set the all-time losing streak record, but they tanked. They generationally tanked, and they get the number 5 overall pick. So a lot of madness in the NBA today, but the Indiana Pacers, as you can see the final score, they end up winning it by 32 points. And at the end of the day, a huge blowout. TJ McConnell's the X factor, and it is just great. Plus 27 in 21 minutes for Timothy John McConnell. and a former process Sixer, is leading the charge for the Indiana Pacers. That's all I got. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will be back tomorrow with all the Sixers coverage that you need. Peace.